I think that voters are concerned about their economics. I think voters are concerned about their health care. I think voters are concerned about child care, about housing and rent and mortgage affordability. And Donald Trump is only in this campaign because he wants revenge and retribution. And so when Donald Trump is out on the trail, again, promising that he is going to give tax breaks to the wealthy and corporations, when Donald Trump is saying that he wants to gut Social Security and Medicare, when Donald Trump is saying that he wants to terminate the ACA, in order for us to make sure that people believe us when we're telling them he is serious about these things. This is not a joke. I know it sounds amorphous and pie in the sky to say that democracy is at stake, but it really is. And these proof points of Donald Trump's first presidency, of how he governed, and the things that he did, staging a photo op, tear gassing American citizens, and then taking a photo as the president of the United States, standing by while there was an insurrection happening and doing absolutely nothing in the White House, are proof points of why voters should believe Donald Trump when he's saying that he's going to do all the things that our campaign is highlighting. He is not playing around, and we are running out of time to make sure that we communicate that to voters. And that's exactly what we're going to spend every single day from now until Election Day doing, and drawing the contrast. And there's also the element of continuing to highlight how President Biden and Vice President Harris have gotten into the Oval Office and kept the promises that they made to Americans, leading them through a deadly pandemic, getting shots in arms, saving lives, another thing that Donald Trump failed to do, and ultimately impacted disproportionately a lot of voters of color, and he simply did not care. And so that is why Americans should believe us when we're telling them how dangerous of a threat Donald Trump poses to democracy.